Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loop Storytime Episode 8. We got a great episode tonight, and Ed Durocher from Apollo's Sons is hanging out with us. We have a great conversation. Sit back, enjoy. Here we go, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loop Storytime Episode 8. We got a great episode tonight, and Ed Durocher from Apollo's Sons is hanging out with us. We have a great conversation. Sit back,
I'll have to
enjoy.
make
Here we go,
this
okay?
work.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loop Storytime Episode 8. We got a great episode tonight, and Ed Durocher from Apollo's Sons is hanging out with us. We have a great conversation. Sit back,
I'll have to
enjoy.
make
Here we go,
this
okay?
work.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loop Storytime Episode 8. We got a great episode tonight, and Ed Durocher from Apollo's Sons is hanging out with us. We have a great conversation. Sit back,
I'll have to
enjoy.
make
Here we go,
this
okay?
work.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loop Storytime Episode 8. We got a great episode tonight, and Ed Durocher from Apollo's Sons is hanging out with us. We have a great conversation. Sit back,
I'll have to
enjoy.
make
Here we go,
this
okay? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loop Storytime Episode 8. We got a great episode tonight. Mark Durocher from Apollo's Sons is hanging out with us. We have a great conversation. Sit back,
I'll have to
enjoy. Here we
make
go, okay?
this
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loop Storytime Episode 8. We got a great episode tonight. enjoy. Here we go, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loop Storytime Episode 8. We have a phenomenal show this evening. Got our first international guest coming to us from Manitoba, Canada with the Apollo Sons, an amazing funk jam band group, heavy horns, key to my heart. We're going to keep the party going, though, and keep this looping afloat. Thank you very much. That was some Down by Marion Hill. Exciting news indeed. Starting next Wednesday, the 19th, my band Float Like a Buffalo is heading out on the road. We are doing an 11-day tour going through the Midwest into the South, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas. If you're in any of those areas, please check out Float Like a Buffalo. We will be coming to your town most if you're in those regions, and we'd love to see you at the shows. And exciting news for Loop Storytime, that episode We're going to be doing a Float Like a Buffalo takeover. We're going to be doing interviews with the members of the band. We are going to be doing videos from our shows that we are playing on the road. So if you've liked this and want to see a more high energy of a road life experience, please check out next episode, episode 9, Float Like a Buffalo takeover of Loop Storytime. Thank you guys. I'm going to play a song for you that we wrote. It's called Enjoy the Ride. Enjoy the Ride by Float Like a Buffalo. Tune in for the next episode in 2 weeks to check out the Float Like a Buffalo takeover. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. Big shout out to Loose Leaf and Jamcast and Emily Vanderweel and that entire team for bringing this together. It's awesome to be able to be a part of this network. I get to meet such awesome people like Ed that we got in later. We have all these amazing musicians, all this amazing community. So thank you for letting me be a part of it. Thank you for your continued support. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. I got one more song for you. Please stick around for Ed Durocher from the Apollo Sons. Amazing, amazing group. This guy taught me so much in our interview, so many things that I want to apply to my musical career. I really enjoyed having the time to sit down. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview as well. Thank you for supporting Loop Storytime week after week and continuing to support this show. I will see you around. Check out next week's episode, or next episode with Float Like a Buffalo. and enjoy this last song for you.
Posse's been on Broadway, and we did it all with chrome music. I shed my skin above my bones and do everything I record, doing it, yeah, don't moms it. Let that stage light go and shine on down. Got the bar, the suit game open, go on my style. Money, stay in my crowd when I stick around for those pounds, and I do that to pass the torch and put all for my town. Now, so trust me, I'm behind D-E-P-E-N-D-E-N-D, straight hustling. Chasing dreams in towers 14, I got the 4-track busting. Halfway across the city with a fat cat crushing. Labels out here, tell me nothing. We get back to that people, spread it across the country. Labels out here, I know they can't tell me nothing. We get back to that people, spread it across the country. And we go back, this is the moment, tonight is the night. Fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling getting all dust. Like the ceiling getting all dust. Can we go back? This is the moment, tonight is the night. Fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling getting all dust. Like the ceiling getting all dust. Can we? Nah, can I kick it? Thank you. Yeah, I'm so damn grateful. Grew up, we wanna go fronts, but that's what you get when Wu-Tang raised you. Y'all can't stop me. Going hard like I got an 808 in my heartbeat. But I'm eating at the beat like I give a little speed to a break. One shot, we rock. There we go, up, go. Juice is goodbye, I got a world to see. My girl, she wanna see Rome. Sees I make you a believer. Now you never ever did it from the throne. That melody should come from giving it back to the people. Now we sing a song and it goes like, oh, these those hands, this is our party. We can live life like nobody was watching. I got my city right behind me. Did my fall, they got me from the big and humility. And then we keep marching and we go back. This is the moment, tonight is the night. Fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling getting all dust. Come on, like the ceiling getting all dust. Can we go back? This is the moment, tonight is the night. Fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling getting all dust. Like the ceiling getting all dust. Can we go? This is the moment, tonight is the night. We fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling getting older. Like the ceiling getting older, can we go back? This is the moment, tonight is the night. We fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling getting older. Like the ceiling. Thank you for tuning in. Stick around for Ed Durocher. We'll see you next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the interview time of Loop Storytime, light music, and everything in between. With me, I have Mr. Ed Durocher from Manitoba, Canada, and Apollo Sons. How are you doing today, Ed?
Doing really good. It's a beautiful day out here, so can't complain.
Oh, man, I can hear you on that. We are in springtime is in full swing down here. We've been hitting like 70-degree days for the past little bit. I got to spend the last week in Florida, so I got a little bit sunburned. But now we're back, and it's beautiful, beautiful weather. So
nice.
Well, cool, man. Well, we were just talking a second ago. I've been listening to you guys pretty aggressively for the past week, and I am loving what
we appreciate that.
Oh, of course, man. I love discovering new music in general.
For sure.
I love horns as a horn player, and I love jam bands. And you are giving me horn-heavy jam band funkness. Awesome. It like
nice.
When I started listening, I was like, oh, holy shit, man. So tell me a little bit about you, and then tell me a little bit about the Apollo Sons and that whole project and what you guys have been doing with that and where you're going with that.
Yeah, so we kind of started in 2016, and it kind of was by accident entirely. I never wanted to be a jam band or a instrumental band at that. So kind of how it happened is we, the bass player, the original bass player, and I were in like this like psychedelic progressive band called Electric Soul, and we were both singers, or we thought we were. We were just terrible, god-awful singers. I feel bad, like, and God bless the people who said they enjoyed our singing, because that's the nicest thing you could say. The most charitable thing, I guess.
Right.
So the band broke up about 2014, and it was a nice little like way to get our feet wet in the music industry and kind of learn what not to do and all these things. So, you know, everyone has that band, right, where they kind of like make every mistake possible. And that was this band. But you learn a lot. Mistakes are great. You learn a lot from mistakes. So fast forward to that band breaking up, and we had a bunch of shows booked that we just didn't want to play that music anymore. So we kind of got a bunch of our favorite Winnipeg musicians to just come out and jam with us on a show, because we were getting super into like King Crimson and like Soft Machine and like a lot of the fusion jazz stuff that was like heavily improvised, and like Mahavishnu Orchestra, Billy Cobham, Jeff Beck. So all this really beautiful kind of like really aggressive funk, but jazz and rock. So that's what got me into that kind of like that world. of like I just like the attitude of that early 70s fusion stuff, but with like really great musicianship. So yeah, we played a few shows with just purely improvised, nothing written, that we were just like kind of line up some melodies just by like musical luck, and then kind of like lots of listening. And then what we found was is that the enthusiasm for those shows from the audience was way better than what we were doing with Electric Soul previous. So we had a year of like the purgatory years, which I call them, like we were just figuring our shit out. And then we just sat down like, well, I never wanted to be in that kind of band, but the music was just speaking to me so much at that point. You kind of know, like you know those moments with yourself personally when you realize that like who you thought you were or what you were trying to be was not fully who you were on the inside. Like you weren't being honest with yourself yet as to like who you were even as a musician. When I saw that crowd response and like it was just like a flipping of the switch, I'm like, oh, okay, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And it just made so much more sense. And then I could really get behind it as a band leader and like someone who was going to be putting in 10 hours a day of work on the back end. It just made sense. And ever since then, it's just my belief in that music and kind of what Apollo Suns was doing at that point, or the beginning stages of Apollo Suns, because we weren't always a horn band. The first year, we only had one horn sometimes. And then we started writing more, like I always wanted horns, but they're so hard to like, sometimes get to be committed to a project. Is
those damn horn players, man, just a bunch
those
of
damn horn
lazies.
players. I mean, I love them, but they're just so sought after that they can, they can pick and choose their gigs,
Right.
But so now we've got the full. What I feel now after like 3 to 4 years of really dialing in what Apollo Suns is. And I'm really happy with those first couple records. I thought they were really good representations. And really, I love that music. But now I feel like we've been touring heavily for 3 years across Canada and playing about 100 dates a year and jamming a lot and recording that. I'm kind of like, now we've really dialed in what Apollo Suns, I believe in, is now really like, we've realized our sound now.
So for those who have never heard of you down here, what is that sound to you? What is that if you were to describe the Apollo Sun sound in a 30-second elevator like pitch?
Yeah.
What would
It's
that
like,
be to you?
we call it like it's a 10-piece horn-fueled like psychedelic freak funk is what we call it, and that seems to be really like people respond to that. But it's just like sweaty shows, jamming, really like we want to make sure that it's accessible for the average listener, but also fun for us to play, and then the music heads will be like, oh, that was cool, like sometimes a lot of people coming up and be like, we have 3 different time signatures potentially going at like once, but it sounds like, well, maybe not 3. Well, there's a couple like parts that are like pretty heavy in that section, but but we want to make sure it's like very accessible for people just to listen to and like hum along to a melody and get it stuck in there, but also be like really heady musically.
Yeah. Make music for musicians, but make music for the layman's as well.
Make it for everyone.
Yeah.
Music is supposed to connect and is supposed to speak to everyone. And I love the crazy, like, whoa, that was mind-blowingly technical. But I have guilt, not that there's ever a guilty pleasure. Why do you have to feel guilty about something you like? But I love pop music too. I'll throw on, like, absolutely, like, that's a great melody, like, regardless of if it's from Kesha or Mahavishnu Orchestra. I'm like, that's a good melody. Why am I going to judge that?
Exactly. Just because they're making millions off of it, doing like
those jerks, Ooh.
Those jerks who figured it out. God, I hate
Ooh.
it. Now,
just totally, man.
10-piece band, and that is your fight and weight. When you guys tour, when you guys perform, when you guys travel, you're rocking 10 people the majority, like all the time.
Eight piece, 7 or 8 piece on the road,
Okay.
and then 10 at home. But now that we have more of a budget, because we've done a lot of work to get to a point where we have more resources,
Okay.
now we started hiring. For instance, if we come out to Denver, Colorado, and we're like, we need a horn player for this big show, we now right, we now have like charts and like resources that we can send the locals. Like, do your homework. We'll have a rehearsal the day of the show, and we've had people join us for legs of tours to be like, well, here's like six dates, and we have a couple big shows in there that we want to present the full 10-piece that we'll just hire out. And I guess the great thing about being in this type of band, it's like, we all have like jazz school graduates in the band that can easily communicate what we need from hired players and people that will be in the band for like 5 days.
Because that's what I was gonna ask next is musical experience wise from your end to across your players, because you are doing some pretty technical stuff. You're not sitting there like, we're gonna jam an E for a little bit. You have there's like, and there's people. My band, we jam an E all the time. It's a great key to jam in. But
yeah, absolutely.
But being able to have that more educated, I don't want to say backbone, but that more educated core of being able to go, awesome, we're going to experiment with the concept of what sound and structure is, and you have a group of players behind you that it's not being spoon-fed, it's not remedial because they're all at that level.
Yeah.
So that must be really cool on your end as a band leader to be able to work with that level of talent.
It's really great. Because the band is just so supportive as well, because I'm the only one who isn't music school educated.
Okay.
But being that, there's this weird balance of like, sometimes our keys player will be like, well, it doesn't work theoretically, or like it probably won't work. And I'm like, well, does it sound cool? Is it dope? Then let's do it. There's sometimes my music theory ignorance, and I do know a lot about music theory, but theirs is like levels and levels above, or like above me, right? Like they'll know tons of concepts that I only can. I'll hear them be like, oh, what does this mean? And they're like, oh, well, that's just like module, like like you're just like modal manipulation. I'm like, oh, cool.
Awesome.
I won't know what it's called, but yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, like they'll know the technical way of like, I'll send them a riff and be like, can you tell me what I'm doing? Because I'm like, I feel like this time signature is in 7, but I'm not entirely sure. And they'll be like, oh yeah, it's like 7/8 or something. I'm like, okay, sweet.
Awesome.
Which is something I don't necessarily want to admit to that as being like musically theory challenged, but like at this point I just embrace it. I'm like, I don't always know what I'm doing, but I know I know I like the sound of it. I just don't know how to explain it. So with them, it's great because they have way more experience, and to communicate that to other players is really helpful. But then on the jamming side, I never wanted to be like, I always thought of jam band as like this really dirty word. Same with like prog rock. I always was like, I don't want to be called proggy because it's like it's just like this aesthetic that like if you say you're a jam band to someone who isn't into jam bands, who doesn't know the levels and the community is beautiful. The more and more that we embrace the jam band community, and I'm sure with any community there's like parts that are not so beautiful, but they're just so supportive and just so great, and the musicianship is amazing, and they're very into sharing. I've really just embraced the jam band label, and it's like it's this like we generally and myself is like because I love the business side. I love booking. I love managing. I have 100 spreadsheets. I have our financials. I have our financial goals. I love that web. And anyone who's on our team, I want warriors. I want them to want it. No one's ever going to want it as bad as I do for Apollo Suns. Like, it's my baby.
Yeah.
But like, anyone who comes aboard, like, if you're passive or if you're a whatever person, no, you are not a team member then. But Um, to speak to that, like going out and like outperforming, outselling, like I knew we were doing something right because we played this festival in Saskatchewan called, which is like the province over, another prairie province, and very lovely. We played this festival called Ness Creek, and we're about 2 years into being heavy like road dogging it. So we've been across Canada a couple times, and we're earning a nice reputation. Like as competitive as I am, I always try to be very supportive with everyone else and share knowledge and give opportunities back. Like I love to hustle, but I knew that this reputation around the band was starting to spread when we were playing the late night stage, and it was such a party. It was so much fun, but we were the first band on, and the band after us was supposed to have sound check before us, but they were late, and we were there on time. So we got the sound check, and they did not. And their band leader, Dana, comes out to me, and he's like, Ed Durocher, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, your reputation precedes you. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you stole our sound check. I was like, we were here on time. But we're good friends. Like, we had a good laugh about it. They're such a good band. That this band, Bears in Hazelmore, was so good. But we were just there on time, and I made sure that every member was there 10 minutes early, and that's just the type of thing, like being as professional as you can also earn you opportunities down the road, because you're gonna sell tons of tickets, you're gonna be there on time, you're gonna make sure everyone's life is easier and successful. So being that band, I pride us on being that band that knows exactly when sound check is. Every email is checked, every email is responded to. We try to sell 100 tickets more than we say we can, just by hustling and mobilizing our community and our audience, and nurturing that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said where you guys are at is prairie, prairie, and a lot of it's country and folk. So tell me about like some of the early struggles that you guys had of, okay, you were doing you kind of fell into the improvisational jam, and then you found out that worked, and it felt organic and it felt natural, and you started moving forward. What were some of the early struggles that you guys had of being this black sheep to an area of country and folk? Like I know that bluegrass at least in Colorado and in the jam scene, bluegrass and jam are very, very, they're distant cousins. Is that kind of similar up north where you guys are at, or did you guys have to kind of break through some barriers as like a established group in an area where that scene wasn't very popular?
We definitely had our champions early on, which was great. Like, I'll always say that college radio was super helpful, and any band that kind of like shrugs at college radio, those DJs love you, and they're the first people too, and they're volunteers. They're not getting paid to play your music. Yeah. They generally. So I want to give a shout out to all the college radio that has had us on and played our music and allowed us to come into the studio and play music live for their audience and for their listeners. But so we had our champions at the beginning of like from the previous band I had mentioned. Like I had been networking for a while, so we were lucky enough to have people that were nice enough to give us opportunities of like local 500-person festivals that they would put us on, and kind of like, but with that we were like, well, we need to play our asses off because we're kind of, we need to make people dance. There needs to be tons of sweat left on that dance floor, and we need to make sure people remember us the next day, because everyone loves you the night of the show, but it's getting them to remember who you are the next day that is really important. But kind of the struggles was not so much with the community, because, I felt that we were playing very honestly, and we really believed in it from early on, that if people see that at the show, like if you're really enjoying it and loving the music and everyone has smiles on and is really like, you can tell when a band really digs what they're doing. And if I like the music, I'll love the band even more because of that. If I'm watching a show, I'll be like, oh, these people just, they're totally in it, But what I think was hard was coming from a community and like obviously being on the prairies where there's 3 other bands like us instead of like 100. that the industry showcases were few and far between, festivals were few and far between, any sort of funding or support or a spotlight series or anything from the industry. I felt we had to really prove ourselves. So I don't ever want to lose that again, but I will begrudgingly say there are some silver linings to this pandemic. But I am so excited. Oh my God. I'm almost tearing up thinking about live shows and being on the road and going and seeing all the beautiful parts of the world that touring allows. Like,
Yeah,
I can't
man.
wait to stand under a waterfall in Golden, BC and, you know,
Just embrace it. Well,
yeah,
it's I mean, we're America's slowly getting there. Like we're in Colorado, our restrictions are slowly starting to get loose, and you're starting to read like the department or the CDC is starting to open up restrictions. If you're vaccinated, get vaccinated, and you start hearing of venues going, "Hey, if you all have proof of vaccination, like let's start doing this again." So it gives you this really kind of exciting feeling.
yeah.
So as we start coming towards the end of this, man, how'd that hour go by so quickly? It's crazy.
Was it a good
It was
conversation?
great.
Was it
Great that's the goal of this, man. So you guys, you
great?
said you have 150 shows that you're rebooking from the like canceled stuff. You are heading back into the studio. You got some new stuff coming through. So tell me a little bit about the future of Apollo Sons for what we can be looking forward to as things
Mhm.
start becoming back to normal.
Well, yeah, this summer and fall is going to be dedicated to recording a whole new album, and we've got a bunch of stuff in the can. And one thing that we learned from the jam band scene is to record every live show. So now we've got a bunch of content from live stuff that we want to be like this digital bootleg band where we just archive every show. Like I love that like Fish and Deadheads and Humphreys McGee and every jam band ever can like they've archived their like sets and like you have those super fans, but we're starting to get into that. Um, but yeah, moving into 2022, starting in the spring, we have about 150 shows that we're working with our team to rebook some festivals, and yeah, we're just going to be on the road as much. We've got 2 years to make up for, and we're really looking forward to meeting all these wonderful people that we've been meeting on our socials who have been so supportive and sharing our music. Like everyone we've met, like yourself, that are supporters of the band. That were like, I can't wait to meet these people that I already feel I've known them for so long. Of like actually going and hanging out at a venue or playing music with, and just going for coffee and shit. So yeah, that's kind of and then yeah, we're just going to be on the road for quite a while after this and releasing new music. And we've got a brand new stage show. Like we do a lot of visuals at our shows, and
Okay,
so
cool.
we're like upping that a lot, like getting like custom made projections, and it's going to be a whole production. You know, like we're upping the level. We're rehearsing 3-4 times a week now, and
Wow.
we just want pretty much coming out of this, we're just want to be a world-class band and working our tails off to have the production, the business, and the band and the community, and just like going full force. And like I really love the band and love the music we make, and I really believe in it. So I
Well, man,
just yeah.
yeah, I can tell that you love it. I can tell that you're passionate about it. I can tell that. I mean, I can hear it in the like you said you've been recording live shows, and what I was listening to today, like so like oh this is interesting studio work. They're kind of throwing the countdown in, but then I'm like oh all of these are live and they sound tight. It is clean. It is well like it's you think that it's maybe just kind of one of those studio magic tricks where they're like 1, 2, 3, but no, that's genuine live
Yeah,
performance and
no fixing.
no fixing, no auto tuning, no melodyning, just going in and
Yeah,
having talented musicians be talented, and that's a lot of fun for us to be able to watch and us to be able to listen to. It's been awesome to be able to kind of sit down, talk with you, and see your passion for the project because if you have someone passionate at the helm, then you're either going to find a group of people who are going to get online or you're going to keep grinding until you find, like, you're going to find those right people, and when the right people get together,
Yeah.
the project has limitless potential.
Yeah,
And
yeah, as much as I'm very happy with everything we've done, I'm so excited for where we're going and where I think we're going, and the journey as well for that.
yeah, man.
Um, yeah.
So as we finish up, I'd love for you to tell all of the viewers where we can find your stuff if we've never, or if they haven't seen you yet. What's your best socials, your best website, your best Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff? Tell us about it.
Well, we've got a website at www.apollosons.ca. You can find everything you want there if you want to stream us. We're on all the streaming all the DSPs, as they call them, digital streaming platforms, except Amazon Music. I do not support that company in any way. I do not want to be affiliated with them. Bezos, right here, buddy. Anyway, we're on Facebook. We're very active on Instagram. If you ever send us a message or if you follow us there, expect a voice message from me thanking you personally and maybe striking up a conversation. If you want to support the band but not actually buy any physical music, you can buy all of our singles and albums off of Bandcamp or iTunes, and we see a lot of that revenue, which is great. Yeah, you can find us pretty much anywhere. We're very vocal, and yeah. YouTube, we've got a lot of live stuff up there. Yeah, or even send us an email saying hello. I respond very timely to everyone. I appreciate every fan, each and every one of you, for coming. Yeah, for coming into our community.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Ed Durocher from Apollo Sons up in Manitoba. Ed, has been such a pleasure to sit down and talk with you, man.
Absolutely.
As per usual, this episode is going to be uploaded to the Jamcast networks on YouTube, so check it out. We have some big news coming for Loop Storytime's podcast edition. It's growing, so this is coming in, and things are starting to turn a little bit more real with it. So that's super exciting. So
awesome.
Keep your eyes and ears tuned up for big news in the future with that. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ed Durocher, and this has been Loop Storytime. We will see you in 2 weeks, and awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been great.
Of course.